friends, my name is Marines, and today we're going to be predicting what books will be nominated for the debut category of the Goodreads Choice Awards. I love end of the year videos, and that includes everything that everyone makes about the Goodreads Choice Awards. I know there are people who don't love Goodreads Choice Awards content, but I genuinely love it. If you guys will remember, last year I participated in a collaboration where a group of us were reading through the last 10 years of Goodreads Choice Award winners, and we each had a category, and my category was debut. And then at the end of the year, I read through the top 10 books that were nominated for the 2023 awards. I reacted to the list of nominees, read them, gave my opinions on them all, and then reacted to the winner as well. I've had it in my mind since then that I would do it again this year and create a little bit of continuity with this project. Like in my heart of hearts, I would love to do pretty much every single category, but I find debut honestly fascinating. I kind of lucked into this category. I picked two other ones that were already taken, and then I was like, fine, give me debut. And it honestly, I feel like worked out really well because the debut category is very different from the other ones. We all know that the Goodreads Choice Awards is a popularity contest, and I feel like over the last year or so, Goodreads is also leaning into that as well, or at least I've noticed more since doing this project that they are very much owning, as they put out lists, how it's like reader chosen, reader popularity, the most popular books, the buzziest kind of things. So they understand that they're collecting all of this data about like consumer behavior, and that's how they position it. So the Goodreads Choice Awards is kind of, we'll talk about it in a second, no different. In terms of like the basis of it really is just about numbers and volume and popularity. That's true for the debut category as well, but I think because it is debut, I was spared number one, long series, book number like 13 being nominated in a series, and number two, like the institutional holdouts that exist in every category, right? So your Sarah J. Maas in fantasy and your Stephen King in horror and that kind of thing, where these people are the go-to entry point into a genre where even people who don't read that genre may have read those people. And so it's hard for those awards to escape that in any year where those authors have written a book. That doesn't happen in debut. It's everybody's first fiction novel. Not that you have like an even playing field because LOL publishing, but I did escape some of the trappings of the other categories. It's been interesting to read through the debut category as well because it's been a mix of genres. So overall, while this is not the flashiest category, I love debut now, and this is my project. So I figured that this year, instead of cramming all of the elements into one video, I'm doing this with enough time that I can pull out my predictions. Now, going kind of back to this conversation about like the popularity contest and why do we still keep talking about Goodreads, and if everyone knows that these books are just popular, why does it matter? I think to me that it remains at the top of people's minds because regardless of like the function of the mechanism by which these are nominated and chosen, they are very incredibly highly visible, and not just to the very online group of people who are reading books, which are you and I, but like even the only sort of online group of people who read books. And honestly, I know people who read only like a handful of books a year, or one or two books a year, and they use Goodreads to track. So there is a like very far-reaching influence and visibility that exists there that I think is worth like talking about and maintaining as part of the discourse. I don't think that like talking about it's going to change anything functionally, but I do think that being able to talk through it, to give critical reviews on the things that are getting so many eyeballs, and just to keep checking in with like the way that popularity still kind of points to some of the institutional problems in publishing in terms of what gets like visibility, what gets marketing, what gets book boxes, what consistently gets popular. Those are things that are worth talking about. Now, the thing that I find the most fascinating in all of this is that this is not 100% a popularity contest. There is some editorializing going on Goodreads' behalf, and they are completely not transparent about what and where and how it happens. That's the thing to me, is that there are pros and cons to any sort of award that you run, either by purely popularity without any kind of editorializing, or ones that are picked by committee or anything along those lines, because each way introduces its own kind of like biases into the process. And I think the best thing you can do when you are running an award is just to be transparent. Goodreads is not entirely. This is what we know about eligibility. The books have to be published in the United States in English between November 16th, 2023 and November 14th, 2024. Those dates might be off by a day or so, but I think that that is correct. They must have an average rating of at least 3.50 at the time that the awards is launched. Every book can only be nominated in one genre category, but every book can also be nominated in the debut category. So sometimes you have some repeats that win in a genre category and then also win Best Debut. And only one book in a series may be nominated per category. I don't know if any of this criteria is going to be changed for 2024, which it might, because I feel like every year Goodreads like tweaks certain things or finds like new and interesting ways to disappoint, remove categories. There might not be a debut category in 24. So, you know, all of this may change. I am basing it on previous years, and it's been more or less consistent, at least in telling us that what they're looking at is how many times these books are added, rated, reviewed. Now, the reason that I know some like editorializing is happening, or I believe at least, is that last year I pulled up a bunch of books and I like ran the numbers, and like purely by the numbers, there were books that were on that list that were like way less popular than other books that made it to the top 20. After the top 20, when voting begins, then it's voting, right? Top 10 and winner is like voting process. But that top 20, I don't know how they're determining that, and I'm almost certain that it can't be like purely by the numbers. I do think that the choices that they made of adding in less popular works was pretty consistently about including books that were like more well reviewed, well regarded, things that were getting a lot of critical acclaim, sometimes adding in some diversity through those picks. So I don't even like mind that they are doing this, that there is some element of like grabbing the most popular and then maybe grabbing the most critically acclaimed or something along those lines. My thing is, again, like the lack of transparency of like what exactly is happening. With all of that out of the way, let's get into the predictions. I put together a list of over 200 debut novels. Last year my list was like 40, and this year I don't know what happened. I mean, I do know what happened is that I like was compiling and I kept finding more, and this is by no means exhaustive because I kept finding more, and so it just hit a point where I was like, okay, Mari, you gotta like call it at some point. So what did I do? I looked at user generated Goodreads lists to just kind of get a base of like a bunch of 2024 debut novels. Then I started looking at Amazon and Goodreads lists that were like, you know, discover debut novels. This 2024 debut novels by genre, Discover a New Voice, that was published October 15th. I made sure that all of these were included in my list because I think that this is going to be like a pretty good source of what might be nominated. I looked up just like internet lists of like 2024 debuts that people were looking forward to, best 2024 debuts of the year so far, and things along those lines. And then I looked at book boxes. So I looked at Book of the Month and Reese's Book Club and Read with Jenna, and went through and noted any of those books that were debuts. So that's how I ended up with over 200 titles. And I just put everything in the spreadsheet, and I haven't really manipulated or looked at the data in any way. It was just like kind of getting everything down. So I've got title, author, the publication date, the number of ratings that it's received, its average rating, the number of reviews that it's received, how many times it was shelved at all, and how many times it was shelved as want to read. With all of that information, I created a silly little formula that truly means nothing at all, that weighed each of these data points equally, which is a thing I went back and forth on. I wasn't sure, like thinking about these categories, which ones I think Goodreads is weighing heavier, but like, I don't know, I could sit here all day and try and guess at that. I think it will be interesting once we do have a top 20 to see if I can like backwards engineer. But anyways, for the purposes of this project, I weighed everything equally. So like assigning value to each of those things to come up with a score. After I came up with that score, like a little bit into this, I was like, here's the thing though. Some of these books have come out within the last 2 months. And so they don't have the volume of like reviews and ratings and add to shelves, but they are very buzzy or they've been in book boxes and I expect them to grow. So this adjusted score is just that score with a multiplier depending on how long ago the book was published. I think that's everything about the method to my madness. So now we can start. The first thing I want to do is remove anything that is below a 3.5 stars. When I was finding them, I was just like, whatever, I'll put them in there so that I could keep track of like what I was adding in. Because a lot of times I would, double back and be like, have I already added this title? So to keep things clean, I just put everything in here with the thought that I would filter it out when I got to this stage. So we are doing ratings. And all of these under 3.5, oh wow, there are a lot. Interesting. Okay, these are for sure out. These ones that are right on the cusp, 3.5, maybe even 3.51, I think it's probably more likely that the score will go down than it will go up. So I'm going to mark these in yellow for myself just as a flag that if I'm deciding about any of these books, making some decisions about that top 20, that these are flagged as maybe they won't be eligible by the time that the nominations launch. So let's move on now to sorting this by my original score. My little nonsense score. Ministry of Time, I'm adding to my top 10 for sure. And I think it is highly likely that Ministry of Time will win. I just feel like I heard so much buzz about it. It was on Goodreads list. It was in Book of the Month. It was on an Amazon list. How to Solve Your Own Murder. Big numbers, big score. And we do love to include a mystery in the debut category. Same with the romance, How to End a Love Story. Huge numbers. We Used to Live Here is a horror. Look at this like diversity already. The Book of Doors, That's Not My Name, a YA thriller. There's so few YAs on the list that this is purely just me overthinking this, but it should be in my top 10 just purely based on the numbers, but I'm gonna flag it. We're gonna hold off on that one. The Husbands, I think, has a pretty good chance. The only thing that worries me about The Husband is this 3.52. Like it better keep afloat for the next two weeks. But otherwise, I do think it has a good chance. Martyr, I think, is this year's Chain Gang All-Stars. Even though Chain Gang All-Stars actually by the numbers should not have really been nominated in terms of popularity, but it looks like Martyr is like sneaking in there by its own popularity. So I take that back. They are not alike. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Annie Bot. I think Annie Bot is going to do very well. Again, Book of the Month. It's gotten a lot of pretty good buzz. The numbers support it. All right. So those are my top 10. I forgot to mention when I was talking about collecting data. So there are a couple of gaps, I would say, in this data. Number one is that I did not find many, if only this one book that is to be published. I wasn't looking out for it, and it wasn't until I came across Teller of Small Fortunes that I was like, oh, I've heard about that one. And I was like, oh, it's not even published yet, that I realized that this was the only future pub date that I had on this list. Now, my adjusted score, the way that I did it was like taking from today's date, the publication date, and then using that to like calculate the multiplier. And because the like publication date is in the future, that breaks the formula. So that's why this doesn't have an adjusted score. Other gaps in this data, I would say, are any of the books that were published at the end of last year, because everything I was looking up, I was doing like 2024 debuts. So if anything was published at the end of November or December, I think I found one or two, but otherwise that's going to be a gap in this information. Okay, Society of Lies. Huge adjusted score. Why? It came out in October, and look at these shelved and want to read numbers. That's crazy. That's crazy. I think I'm going to include it, guys. I think I'm going to put that in my top 20. Those are big numbers. That feels really buzzy to me. Like these next three adjusted scores, like this one, Ghost Train, super small numbers. I think I'm going to go with, let's just flag that one out for right now. Sorcery and Small Magics is an adult fantasy. 25,000. For She Is Wrath is a YA fantasy with 40,000. And it just came out. That just came out this week. That feels really buzzy. I want to commit, but I can't. Okay, what else? The Dividing Sky. Oh, this is Jill Tew. The Hollow and the Haunted came out in October. I see what the multiplier is doing. These are on track to be have some of these larger numbers. But if I'm gonna grab anything from here, it's gonna be For She Is Wrath, I think. Immortal Dark, I feel has been getting good buzz. I feel I'm getting gun shy. What is the most shelved book? Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Let's do green. I think I'm gonna put Immortal Dark in here. Is that crazy talk? Voyage of the Damned, I feel like I've been hearing a lot of buzz about. These three, actually. Voyage of the Damned, Night Watching, and The Eyes Are the Best Part. And these three as well were on multiple lists that I looked at that were best debuts of 2024. All right, I feel like I need to visualize what is going on here. All right, let's start with Society of Lies. Ministry of Time. Okay. She's going. She's beautiful. She could win. She could win this whole thing. I started this book. I have not finished it. How to Solve Your Own Murder. That's in. Who used to live here? I'm still... Guys, I wish you were here. You can help me decide. I think I'm taking For She Is Wrath. 7 new books. Goodreads editor picks for new October reading. Most anticipated books of the fall. I'm putting her, let's put her down here, just so I know in my head what is going on. I still have to decide by these. Yeah, the Book of Doors, I feel like I've seen everywhere. Historical fiction. What historical fiction do I have? Nothing yet. I feel like I need a historical fiction. The Mayor of Maxwell Street is the next one up with the unadjusted scores. It's The Mayor of Maxwell Street. I kind of want to say it's that one and not The Stone Witch of Florence. Is this crazy talk? Is this crazy talk right now? It might be. I don't know what I wasn't fully connecting in my brain about this top 10. Because here's the thing, is that those editorial decisions, all of the things that I'm kind of hemming and hawing, those are going to be in the top 20. The top 10 is fully popularity. It is, I recognize that title. That is one of the books I read. I'm going to vote for that one. And sometimes I honestly think it is even just, I don't know any of these, but I recognize that one. I've heard good things about this one. So I feel like the want to read score is like key here in terms of visibility and popularity. So sorting by that, The Ministry of Time is in my top 10. I'm going to actually put it number 1. I feel like Ministry of Time wins. Let's like sort it exactly by this and see how close that ranking gets to just purely the numbers of want to read. This is gonna be fun. How to End a Love Story. And then we have We Used to Live Here. And then we have Book of Doors, How to Solve Your Own Murder. And then we have The Husbands and That's Not My Name. Did I just download The Husbands? I did. The Husbands. And what is That's Not My Name? A thriller. We do be needing a thriller. We have a horror and a mystery. 4.10 is pretty high for a thriller too, especially with this many ratings. You're Coming Home with Me. Then we've got I Hope This Finds You Well and Martyr. All right. I really said by the numbers. That means, okay, what am I missing? Purely by the numbers. Antibot and Society of Lies. It's hard. I really would think that Antibot would make it into the top 10. Society of Lies. This is one of those ones, like adjusted. Did really well, but it's really not going to have the time, you know? Antibot. What are we feeling about Antibot? What is the score? 3.82. Do by ratings. Yeah, by ratings, Antibot gets in there. Not as many people want to read it, but more people have read it. Okay, so basically I have to decide if Antibot is going to bump either Martyr or Welcome to the Hyundong Bookshop. By the numbers, it would be Martyr. I think that it would bump, just looking at the number of people who have rated it already. I have no reason to do this. Honestly, there's no earthly reason why I think that this should happen. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more books to fill out this top 20. I'm feeling pretty good about the top 10. The only question mark to me, I think, is between Martyr, Antibot, and the, I'm so sorry if I'm saying this wrong, but I was not prepared, Hyundong Bookshop. Those are my 3 big question marks. Society of Lies is a smaller question mark just because it's got such incredible numbers of people who want to read it. I just don't know that it's going to be able to compete with the number who have already read this other stuff, you know? Let's go back to my unadjusted score. I've got all of these taken care of. Where the Dark Still Stands, YA fantasy. Interesting. Another horror. Oh, you know what? I want to put Voyage of the Damned in here for surely. For surely. I don't know why I'm hesitating on this one. It's not giving winter vibes. I put this one in. So let's go green. I did put this one in, but I'm still flagging. My Darling Dreadful Thing. Interesting. Scariest Pick. Readers' New Hit, New Books. Recommended by readers this week. Okay. I have heard a lot about The Eyes Are the Best Part. Honestly, if I was going to put in like another horror in here, I know the other one's coming up as like more popular. Let me see. Adjusted. The Eyes Are the Best Part. part. And they're like neck and neck. They're 1 and 2. The Eyes Are the Best Part has slightly better score, way more reviews. Way more ratings. Yeah. You know. Yeah. Oh, this is a historical. More magical realism. It's so hard. Why is this so hard? I think The Storm We Made. I saw it so many times on different lists. Immortal Dark I put on. Where the Dark Still Stands I put on. The Mayor Maxwell Street, The Eyes Are the Best Part. The Storm We Made I put on. A Sweet Sing of Salt. I have seen this cover a lot. Interesting list, Mari. Okay, I want to go back. I don't know why my Darling Dreadful thing, like I just skipped over that one. I just said no. I really said no to my Darling Dreadful thing. And it feels right. It feels right in my heart. Night Watching, I saw on so many freaking lists as well. Down here, we start getting into murky territory. Okay, let's go a few ways here. Night Watching and Green Dot by number of ratings. I'm missing. Night Watching and Green Dot by number of ratings. I don't know why that one just doesn't look like it works. This is so stupid. Oh, this is so dumb. Okay, the last thing that I want to check. Discover a new voice. This list that just got posted. Let's see what's on here. Martyr, and there's Greta and Valden. I hope this finds you well. And okay, I have 3 of these 6 on my list. Greta, I'm like big question marking over. But I think it's not. Yeah, I think it's edged out in every other metric by these other 3. So I think that's fine. We've got 3 from contemporary fiction. Historical fiction, I put The Storm We Made and The Mayor of Maxwell Street. None of these other ones, they're all on my list, and none of them came up in any of the ways that I sorted as anywhere near the top. So 2 from historical fiction. Mystery, I have Night Watching, The Society of Lies, Voyage of the Damned, Book of Doors, A Short Walk Through a Wide World. I have 4 fantasies, which feels like a lot, but it's fantasy. A Sweet Sing of Salt. That feels good. Science fiction, Antibot, The Ministry of Time. Okay. Horror, We Used to Live Here, The Eyes Are the Best Part. There's my Darling Dreadful thing. Honestly, if my Darling Dreadful thing is on this list, in the top 20, I might lose it. How to End a Love Story is on my romance. Nothing else. The only other thing that came up was Lore of the Wilds, but it's not rated high enough to qualify. I don't have a YA on this list. Oh, I do. Immortal Dark, but it's not on this list. Okay, I do have a YA on my list, but it's not one of the ones from the list that they just posted. I think that this is fine. I think this is good. I'm leaving it. If any of these that I'm like waffling over show up in that final top 20, I grant you permission to just wherever you are, let out the biggest cackle. Just start yucking it up. Please. Please just start yucking it up, because I will be in pain, and I give you permission to laugh at me about my pain. There's so much to talk about here. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think about my list. Any of the ones that I was kind of going back and forth on, including Greta and Balden and My Darling Dreadful Thing, if I should have included those, if you would have put different ones than I did, any different choices. If you've read any of these, let me know down in the comments. If you want more of my predictions, please be sure to check out my bindery. I'll be posting some other predictions for other categories there, available to my free followers, so you can follow for absolutely free. I use it kind of like a blog or a Substack, so I post additional content there for my free followers. Or if you feel so inclined, you can also subscribe and you get even more exclusive content, plus all of the behind the scenes for what's happening with my 2 books that I'm publishing in 2025. That's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching this video, whatever it was, and I will see you guys soon. Okay. if you want to sit there, you can. I'm gonna make I don't know. I don't know. I kind of want to say